and gentlemen, good morning, Jai Hind. I am sure I am audible with this beautiful mic, and those who feel that the weather is absolutely conducive, feel free to go to sleep. That is the first thing which I always say when I enter. And should you not feel like sleeping, then there are some hard-hitting facts which I will just try to present. But the weather is fine, so take a break, take rest. Okay, here I begin. I was told to come for this presentation along with the chairman. However, chairman has been caught up in some other National Yoga Day celebrations and he had to rush. That also equally important. Chairman has actually regretted missing this event. So I, on behalf of chairman, convey his deep regrets to the audience present here. Unfortunately, the chairman has to balance a couple of events left and right. Since I was here, so he said I should do the honors for him. So it's an onerous responsibility on me to convey some points, and should I miss out on something, please feel free to contact me off the grid. Now, I know there is some security breach somewhere, that is why he's been able to get everything which I never want to come public. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am not an educationist, I am not from academia. I am from something which is extremely divergent to the academic field. And when I say that, I bring in a fresh perspective, outsider's view to the entire industry, institute, interaction, academia, bridging the gap, etc., etc. So my views may kindly be taken as absolutely neutral, and at times I may be radical on certain issues. So please take it that I am not criticizing either the government or AICT or anybody, industry or media or etc. It's absolutely neutral view from my side. So having said that, I'll just begin with showing some facts and figures. This is what the capability of the country is as far as AICT is concerned in 5 domains of engineering, applied sciences, arts and craft, pharmacy, architecture, etc., etc. We have an installed capacity. Okay, check. It's okay, fine. We have an installed capacity to produce about 35.5 lakhs graduates from the AICT approved institutes. From this 35, this is the overall country infrastructure. From 35, we get an addition of about 19 lakhs. So about 20 odd lakhs is dropping out somewhere in between. The seats are not getting filled up. So from whatever 35, we are down to 19. And from 19, what graduates is about 13.4. So 13.4 graduates, engineers, diploma holders, pharmacists, they are produced out of AICTE approved institutes. From this 13 lakhs, about 7.7 lakhs odd get the job. Now, if that be the case, just look at the huge gap bandwidth that we have. Is it something that has happened just by virtue of happening? No, I think there has been a reason. There has been a demand pull from the industry when we were on the rising cusp, and now there is suddenly a demand gap. Absolute dryness, drought, and the industry is. I am again going back saying that there is a drought which has suddenly happened because the industry is not finding these people between 13.4 and 6.5 employable enough. So there lies. One more thing which I want to present. Every 6th person on the Mother Earth is an Indian. The world population is about 35 billion or something. I mean. How much? Sorry? 7.5 billion, correct. I stand corrected. And Indians are about 1.21 billion. So if you divide that thing, we come out in a ratio of 5 point something. And we are, every 6th person on this Mother Earth is an Indian. But what about this professionals part? Where are we on professionals? My guess, my estimate, the professionals are not even 1 in 50. If you take every 6 walking head on this Mother Earth, we should be at least somewhere close to the number of professionals. Be it chartered accountant, doctor, anything. But we are nowhere close. So what does it lead to? The question that it should lead to in everybody's mind is, are we really prepared to be counted as professionals? Forget about whatever developed country. Are we prepared enough, or am I qualified enough to be counted as professionals? And if so, then why am I not helping others to become one? Okay, this is what is in public domain. I don't intend, I was told to show some slides, so I quickly, hurriedly stitched up. But this is the, some kind of a mandate that AICT has tried to do up. This is very close to the chairman's heart, and also this is what we are trying to follow as quality mandate. Just to read out, I'll just read the bullet, that's all which is there. The revision of curriculum every 3 years. You've got to have institutes who are here. You've got to have on your board of studies, industry representative, 5 MOUs with the industry now becoming mandatory, training program for new entrants in the job, 8 modules of FDP, including some time in the industry is already been covered. Induction program already covered, mandatory for 27 days, no pressures, no, that typical straight away remote learning, what is happening in quota, and again you put them back into the same thing. Well, what is the change? So to break that monotony, 21 days, promoting innovation startup, we've got MHRD's innovation cell at AICT, which is full-time functional now, mandatory for every institute to have now. There are IIC's institute innovation cells, which have now got opened up under this MIC. Internship policy, 6 months, mandatory now, kind of, beginning the first year, every odd semester break that you have, the student has adequate time. He can spend doing rural internship also. If he's got a parental business, he can spend time there also. He can go to industry. He can, if he's not willing to go, he can do it at home also, helping his father. So some kind of commitment there from the student side also expected. Outcome-based assessment, very important. India is a signatory to Washington Accord. Bloom's taxonomy is what we are trying to follow. No more of no more of road learning. It is more importantly why. Why does a car need to have 4 tires? Why cannot it have 3 tires? Okay. So why does a ship doesn't sink even if it is half filled with water, but still floats? So some questions like this. Perspective plan has already been ready. It is already shared in the public domain. So all of you can visit the AICT website. This is absolutely short-term to mid-term perspective plan. NEP is already out. National Education Draft Policy is already out. Mandatory industry interaction cell I just covered at this point. Now this is a typical slide which possibly every industry would expect. The expectation from academia side. I have borrowed these slides, frankly speaking, from our Honorable Vice Chairman and Chairman. So model curriculum, MOOCs, already allowed. Credits to the MOOC up to 20% is already allowed. So I'll just skip this. And this is what the academia perhaps look forward from the industry. So I would only want to say this was such an ideal even for the industry to come and listen to each other. But you always find just about 10 or 12 people from the industry. Well, 10, 12 isn't good enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being critical here. 10 to 12 industry representatives coming to an event like this is actually not acceptable. I would also go on to say, if the industry is not coming here, then what is the industry doing to shoulder this responsibility of development of human resource? Well, you have your own training centers, fair call, no problems. You have your proprietary to protect. But you've got to develop something from the base. You can't put an uneducated person and put them into a training center. You have to develop a base. So please come forward. My friends from the industry who are here, please come forward, participate in this event, see what the institutes have to say. Here, possibly, we got to hear. I am very, very delighted to say as much that whenever the industry people come to AICT, I make an effort to listen to them every time. So you got to come forward. The olive branch cannot be always from this side or from this side. It has to be a collaboration. Gone are the days where it has to be partnership, now it has to be a collaboration. We have to go forward towards the networking. So, first step was partnership. I think IICs are doing a wonderful job in the institutions. Now is the time for collaboration, and the next step is networking. So anyway, so this is something which I have to, and these are some of the schemes which are there. SWAYAM, PMKVY, internship, SKPs, ETPs. Oh, is it visible there? Hardly visible, huh? Okay, this is a beautiful diagram which I pulled out, and it talks about Internet of Things, and the topic was future of work. So I thought I'll show this slide. maybe this might not be quite visible, but it just shows that the Internet of Things, the IT sector, it is all prevailing. Now, it is becoming from, service sector, building consumers sector in the core, and it is going outside to devices like servers, point of sale machines, to BFSI sectors, and up all the peripheries is the devices. So the core remains the critical service sector. The core will always remain towards the service sector, and the periphery will always be the devices. Now, if I say as much the periphery is going to be the devices, just the industry I would want to trigger this thought: where are the markets? For China, the market is US. It is not China. For US, the market is Asia. It is not Japan. For Japan, the market is not Japan. For Japan, the market is somewhere in the Europe. So, are you getting the point what I am trying to say? Perhaps no, because we have not put a thought where does the market lie. Ladies and gentlemen, the market does not lie in the core. The market lies in the periphery. And that is where the Northeast is the biggest segment, is the absolute ripe potato to expand your markets. ICT Academy is doing a wonderful job, but you got to leverage it. You got to actually, encash it. It's a blank check. If you come here, the first mover always have an advantage. If you guys do not come here as an industry body, cognizant like what the Honorable Chairman was talking about, Mr. Shivakumar was talking about, well, you are missing. You are going back on the curve, or you're just on the curve. Oh well, this is a very important slide. And I'll cover something more on this. Disruptive, well, we all agree it is disruptive. The hypothesis of learn before earn. Well, a question mark, which I was just trying to cover, that you cannot put any uneducated person into your training centers. So this hypothesis of learn before earn actually need to break. You got to earn as you learn. So you got to make both the institute and the industry. You got to make your students capable enough. Give them small little consultancy projects as small as writing 5-page report for a particular systemic study kind of a thing. Let them go and prepare that 5-page report. And industries, I would request, let the students come and see it. What? Just throw it in the dustbin at the end of the day if you care. But you have given an inroad to that student to write that 5-page of report. He's got some value addition to him. But if you deny that part, well, this hypothesis actually is a failure hypothesis in the present day context. The paradigm of skill shift. Well, I was discussing with the KPMG director here, he's sitting, as to what paradigms are there for the skill shift for the future of work. Well, retrain. Well, if you got to retrain the same set of people, it has got a huge cost implication. And you've got only that small little subset. You cannot perhaps expand that subset until you have fresh inductees into your organization. To do that, well, where do you get that initial training done? So the growth of a particular company will definitely depend on these three paradigms. The first is retrain, which has got cost implication. The second is redeploy. How much and from where? And every time you got to grow, you got to redeploy. That means you are trying to cut corners somewhere. And then you got rehire, which is actually an attrition struggle, which is a war of attrition. Well, in the armed forces, I know how attrition happens. Well, the same thing I am seeing happening in the industry. The IT industry, 30% working attrition, 30% on the bench, and what is at core is only 30% working. Well, that's a very sorry state of affairs. The possible outcome, a gig worker. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Europe, in US, in the developed countries, this concept of gig worker, gig economy has actually caught on, and gone are the days in India when you will find people with same loyalty, same integrity, sticking on to our organization. So time is right that we got to promote our students to become or contribute as a gig worker. Ultimately, these are the people who will actually innovate, incubate, and step out. Now there is something more for the bridge which I had written. This is apart from the slides. Sir was talking about information. Well, information needs to develop into knowledge, and ultimately that knowledge has to develop into an intellect. This is a paradigm which is all prevailing. Information you will find diffused, it is omnipresent with Google and everything. It is in abundance, and the only problem is the knowledge has to be contextual and intellect has to be perpetual. These two things are actually missing. I am capable. I have got 2 hands, 2 legs, but am I able to run this 5 kilometers in 30 minutes? That's the gap one has to understand between the capability and the ability. You may be producing capable engineers, but are they actually able engineers? Or are they actually able citizens? Well, question mark. So to say as much that, basic knowledge should be anchored deep. When I say deep means you have to have the core strong. But having that core strong, if you don't have the spread, it's like a tea. If you don't have a spread of knowledge of engineer, today, okay, I'll cover it in a different form. 90% of the engineers across India are from AICTE. Only the top, maybe CO, CSO, CSU are all from IITs or IIMs. But 90% are AICT. Why is AICT not at the top? Because perhaps that spread of knowledge, if you project management, finance, HR, that spread is missing. So, ladies and gentlemen, the capability part has to be brought with the spread on top. While he may be doing S transform or Laplace transforms or whatever you have, differentials, triple differentials, that is the T part. But if he does not understand what is mutual funds or SIP or etc. or something like that, then his cross section of abilities are not developed. And it has to be, of course, supplemented with environmental factors. The nutrition of environmental factors, where is the economy going and what is the rising curve and what is the falling curve? Well, I leave it to the experts to do this kind of analysis. Then there is also a gap of creativity. Well, you got to be creative, as everybody says, oh, be creative, be thinking, be critical thinking, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, creativity comes with a risk. Don't ever forget, I always try to, remind myself of that if I have to speak something, if I have to speak something original, there is a risk involved in speaking something original because I may be trespassing certain or I may be saying something radical. And this is what I started off in my initial part, that to do something, if you are promoting something, please balance them out. There is a risk that student takes. What will that person feel? How will my partners take me? Whether my report is right. That is the risk he is taking. Please support it. So creativity will come with the risk. We need to actually support or promote this kind of small little risk from a student's perspective. Go back to your own days when you perhaps had the first motorcycle in your college and you rammed it straight into a garage wall, not knowing how to brake it. So that's the risk. For example, I'll give a farmer doing a broccoli farming. Broccoli is the staple diet, becoming slowly becoming staple diet in the cities. That farmer had a great risk. He never knew how to do broccoli farming. But if he did, today he is a rich man. So that's the kind of things, small little things which actually matters a lot. And don't question what can be done differently. Question how can I do it differently. I think there is a little bit of dilemma there. So I leave it on that. And then delivery. The final step in everything and whatever we are trying to do, even AICT is trying to do, others are trying to do, take care, MHRD, Government of India, is in delivery. If we do not have delivery, I don't think we will end up getting the results. And that is the cause and the effect. The cause for failure and the effect for growth. So delivery is what is ultimately important. Ladies and gentlemen, I would only end up by saying that there is something called as UN Sustainable Development Goals. They have huge potential taking the country's economy forward. It has huge potential of creating jobs. Raghav, I'll just take another 10 seconds. And in order to do that, we have tried to promote the smartness in the campuses. There is a clean and smart campus award which we have constituted. This is already live now. Ladies and gentlemen, those from the institute, please take a look at the portal. You can fill in your questions. We'll allow submission a little later, but try to fill in as many responses as possible from the Northeast, because much of it is kind of targeted towards this side of the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for patiently hearing me out, and I again express my chairman's regrets. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.